Let's get one thing right straight from the start, which is that everybody feels nervous sometimes when they get on their feet to speak, even the most experienced presenters and public speakers. So if you find yourself feeling nerves or anxiety or fear when you're about to present, don't beat yourself up about it. It's the most natural thing in the world. Glossophobia, which is the $10 word for fear of speaking in public, is the most widespread phobia in the world and easily outranks fear of spiders, snakes, other insects, rats, heights, or even clowns. Various studies, when asking what people fear most in life, have said that number one is speaking in public, number two is death, which always reminds me of the Jerry Seinfeld line that at the typical funeral, most of the people in the audience would rather be in the coffin rather than delivering the eulogy. Now, if I was to say to you, well, look, how do you know that you get nervous when you need to make a presentation? You'd think it was a little bit of a strange question, but when you thought about it, you'd say, well, I can feel it. I get physical symptoms of fear. And if I pushed you on what they were, you'd say, well, you know, my heart starts to pound. Sometimes I feel as if I'm about to have a heart attack. My hand sometimes can start to shake, or my knees tremble, or I develop some kind of spasm in my foot. I can't stop tapping it, or I rock from side to side. I forget what I was supposed to say. My mind just goes completely blank. I go pale with fear. I go white as a sheet sometimes. My voice dries up. Sometimes it even goes up an octave and gets a bit squeaky and high. And I get butterflies in my stomach. I want to either throw up or go to the bathroom. And of course, all of these symptoms are very, very real. You do feel all of those symptoms, but they are not symptoms of fear. They are the symptoms of an adrenaline attack. Now, your mind and body, which working in combination, don't realize that we are in Western society in the 21st century. They still think we are hunter-gatherers on the plains of the Serengeti 30,000 years ago, because in evolutionary terms, 30,000 years is nothing more than the blink of an eye, and they haven't quite caught up with reality yet. So it deals with a threat today in exactly the same way it would have done 30,000 years ago. Let's say when you came across a saber-toothed tiger out in the wild. Now, if you're in a situation which is a little bit out of your comfort zone, which makes you feel uncomfortable, your mind and your body say to you, hey, listen, you're going to need some adrenaline to deal with this, because adrenaline makes you stronger, faster, more powerful. It makes you more aware. It acts as an anesthetic against pain. Now, obviously, you don't need any of those things when giving a presentation or a speech, but your body can't differentiate between the two different types of threat. Now, it's completely neutral in your mind, so what it says is, look, here's some adrenaline. I don't care how you use it, it's completely up to you. You can fight the tiger, or you can run away from it. That's, you know, the fight or flight syndrome that we've all heard about. But there is actually a third F, which is freeze, because you can just stand completely still and hope the tiger doesn't see or smell you and actually go away. So it should be fight, flight, or freeze. But your mind says, look, you can use this adrenaline whichever way you want. I don't care. But here's a shed load of adrenaline. Now, your body wants to get that adrenaline around the system as fast as it can. So it's produced by the pituitary gland right up there at the base of your skull, and it's squirted into your system at 100 miles an hour. And your heart starts to pound to get it round your system as fast as it can. Now, where does it go? Well, depending on whether you're going to fight or run away, you will need your limbs. You're going to need your hands and legs. So it pumps the adrenaline into your limbs. Now, if you're standing at the front of a room preparing to give a presentation and you're not doing anything with your limbs, you've got all this adrenaline coursing through it, what do you think happens? Well, it makes your hands shake, or it makes your knees knock, or it develops that spasm in your foot where you can't stop tapping it, or you're so full of adrenaline you rock from side to side throughout the whole presentation. I mean, just think when you're in a nervous situation, you're waiting in a waiting room in a hospital because a loved one is having something done to them. What do? Can you sit down? No, you pace the floor. Why? Because you're full of adrenaline. That's where the blood goes. Where does it come from? Well, it comes from your head, because whether you're going to fight or run away, you're not going to engage the tiger in an academic debate. You don't really need your brain. So it takes the blood from your head, which is why you go pale, which is why your mouth goes dry, and that in turn can cause your voice to go up slightly. And finally, if you're going to have to run away, it might be useful to get rid of a couple of unwanted pounds of weight. So your body tries to get rid of any undigested food, which is why you get butterflies and why you feel like you want to throw up or you feel like you want to go to the bathroom. Now, for many years, when I was a professional public speaker, before I knew about the adrenaline dump, I always used to want to go to the bathroom before I got up on stage, you know, in front of a couple of thousand people. And I used to berate myself for it. And I'd say, oh, come on, Nick, this is pathetic. You're a professional. You do this for a living. For God's sake, go into the bathroom before you get on stage. It's ridiculous. And I didn't realize that all it wasn't fear. All it was my body helping me out by wanting to get rid of any undigested food to make me a little bit lighter on my feet and a little bit more nimble in case I suddenly developed a terror of speaking and wanted to flee the auditorium or theatre I was speaking in. Now, 30,000 years ago, humans probably would have been exposed to danger virtually every day, so they'd be completely aware of what an adrenaline attack was. But nowadays, in the 21st century, many people can go their whole lives without really being exposed to something dangerous. And therefore, when an adrenaline attack happens, they don't realize what's happening. And it's this unawareness of what's happening in your body that leads to us interpreting it as panic or fear. Think about it. When you're in a situation where you're excited, let's say you're going on a roller coaster, you're at the top of a black slope on a skiing holiday, you're going to see your favorite band in concert, maybe you're about to go on a first date, let's say your favorite sports team is about to play in a big final, the Super Bowl, the World Cup final, the Stanley Cup final. How do you feel? You'll actually feel very, very similar physical symptoms. But instead of interpreting them as fear, in that situation, you'll interpret it as nervous excitement, and you'll say, oh, I was excited. Look, it's exactly the same symptoms. In one situation, you interpret it as fear. In another, you interpret it as excitement. Now, there's a saying that is often attributed to Henry Ford, which is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. We could paraphrase that to say, whether you think you're excited or you think you're afraid, you're probably right. Interpret these symptoms as being excitement, you'll be excited. Interpret them as being fear, and you'll be afraid. So, the next time you're getting on your feet to speak, when you feel these physical symptoms, do a couple of things. Firstly, just calm down. Don't panic. Remember, it's not fear, it's adrenaline. Rather than try and push the feelings away or ignore them, embrace them. Take a deep breath. Feel the adrenaline flowing through your system. Feel it coursing through your veins. Feel the hairs on your forearms start to stand up. Feel that delightful little shiver down the back of your spine. And just think to yourself, oh yeah, great. Here comes the adrenaline. This is what I've been waiting for. And recognize that whether you use that adrenaline to freeze you into incapacity, or you use it to give a great, powerful, knock 'em dead presentation, it's completely up to you.